Ozempic, the drug 40 million Americans are taking right now. He woke up on New Year's Eve and one eye was just gone. Not blurry, not dimmed, gone. No pain, no warning, no explanation. He had not been in an accident, he had not been sick. He had gone to sleep a perfectly healthy 62-year-old man who drove snowplows for a living. And the only thing that had changed in his life 4 months earlier was this prescription. A prescription that 40 million Americans are taking right now. His name was Todd Engel, motor equipment operator for Howard County, Maryland. He showed up before dawn because roads needed clearing and he was the person who cleared them. His doctor gave him Ozempic on August 2023. Type 2 diabetes, blood sugar out of control. The drug was everywhere by then. Morning talk shows, celebrity gossip, waiting rooms. The most talked about medication in America, competing with newer drugs like Mounjaro and Zepbound from Eli Lilly. The company that makes Ozempic, a Danish pharmaceutical giant called Novo Nordisk, pulled in the equivalent of $45 billion in 2025. Ozempic was a large part of why. Engel was not thinking about any of that. He was thinking about his blood sugar. New Year's Eve 2023, he opened his eyes. The right side of his vision was gone. The doctors at Johns Hopkins Wilmer Eye Institute gave it a name: non-arteritic anterior ischemic optic neuropathy, NAION. Specialists call it an eye stroke. The blood vessels feeding your optic nerve choke off. The nerve tissue dies inside hours. The vision in that eye does not come back. There is no surgery that fixes it. No medication reverses it. You wake up with one working eye, and that is simply what your life is now. About 14% of NAION patients eventually lose the second eye too. That figure comes from a long-term clinical study published in the American Journal of Ophthalmology. Median follow-up of 5 years. Patients with a disc at-risk anatomy, a crowded optic disc, face the highest danger. Engel did it in 10 months. Nobody told him there was any connection to Ozempic. Nothing on the box, nothing from the pharmacist, nothing from the doctor who wrote the prescription. So he kept taking the drug. And in October 2024, he woke up and the left eye was gone too. He told a reporter, "I want the manufacturers of Ozempic to see me, that I cannot see anything. I'm blind. I'm legally blind, and this is devastating." He filed a lawsuit against Novo Nordisk in April 2025. But here is the part of this story that most people have never heard. Engel was not the first, not even close. Go back 3 months before he lost his first eye. Late summer 2023, Boston, Massachusetts. Mass Eye and Ear, one of the top neuro-ophthalmology programs in the world, affiliated with Harvard Medical School. A senior physician named Joseph Rizzo was reviewing the week's patient intake with his trainees. NAION is uncommon. 2 to 10 cases per 100,000 people per year. Most ophthalmologists go months without seeing a fresh one. Rizzo had seen 3 that week. All 3 were on semaglutide, the active ingredient inside Ozempic. A resident named Sayeda Mariam Zekavat flagged the pattern. His fellow Tatiana Hathaway, a physician who also held a master's in public health from Harvard's Chan School, started pulling records. They went back to December 2017, the month Ozempic first got FDA approval, and pulled every patient seen at Mass Eye and Ear's neuro-ophthalmology service for the next 6 years. 16,827 patient records total. They built 2 matched groups, diabetic patients on semaglutide against diabetic patients on other drugs. obese patients on semaglutide against obese patients on other weight loss medications. Same age, same blood pressure, same cholesterol, same sleep apnea, as controlled as a retrospective study can get. Then they ran the numbers, and the numbers were not small. Diabetic patients on semaglutide were 4.28 times more likely to develop NAION. Obese patients on semaglutide were 7.64 times more likely. Both results had p-values below 0.001. The paper published in JAMA Ophthalmology on July 3, 2024. For context, smoking roughly doubles your risk of lung cancer. A 4-fold and 7-fold elevation is not a rounding error. The American Academy of Ophthalmology saw the results and issued a statement urging caution. Single-center study, possible selection bias, more research needed. All fair points. Science has to be careful. But something else was already running, quietly, in Denmark, the country that manufactures Ozempic. A professor named Jacob Grosland at Odense University Hospital was looking at the same question. But he had something Harvard did not. He had the entire country. 424,152 Danes with type 2 diabetes. Every diabetic adult in the country. 5 years of data pulled from national health registers. Semaglutide users had 2.19 times the NAION risk of patients on other diabetes drugs. And Denmark's annual NAION case count had more than doubled since Ozempic launched there in 2018, from 67 cases per year to 148. An entire country's epidemiology shifting in real time. 3 months later, a second replication published, Denmark and Norway combined, 44,000 Danish semaglutide users and 16,000 Norwegian ones. Pooled hazard ratio 2.81, same direction again. And separately, researchers mined the FDA's own Adverse Event Reporting Database, THERS. Vision impairment reports for semaglutide came in at nearly 2 times the rate of other GLP-1 drugs, nearly 4 times the rate of a different diabetes drug class. On June 6, 2025, the European Medicines Agency concluded their formal 6-month review. NAION officially classified as a very rare side effect of semaglutide, up to 1 in 10,000 patients. Every Ozempic, Wegovy and Rybelsus package in Europe updated by September 30th. The World Health Organization issued a global alert on June 27th. And in November 2025, the Danish government's patient compensation body paid 4 blinded patients 800,000 kroner, about $123,000. The director said it plainly. NAION is a serious condition that causes permanent and incurable damage to vision. Governments do not compensate patients for scares. The American Ozempic label said nothing about any of this. Now here is where this story gets strange, and by strange I mean deeply uncomfortable. On March 5, 2026, the FDA sent Novo Nordisk a formal warning letter. The agency had inspected Novo Nordisk's American headquarters in Plainsboro, New Jersey. The inspection ran from January 13th through February 7th, 2025. What the FDA found was this. Novo Nordisk had failed to investigate and timely report serious adverse events associated with semaglutide, including 2 patient deaths and 1 suicide. The company had filed those reports as low-priority periodic reports, when FDA regulations require serious and unexpected events to be filed within 15 days. Novo Nordisk had not done that. Their stock fell 3.6% when it became public. The company said it was confident it could resolve matters to the FDA's full satisfaction. Think about what this means. The FDA's signal detection systems depend entirely on manufacturers reporting adverse events correctly and on time. If Novo Nordisk was filing incomplete reports, the FDA was analyzing incomplete data. That matters enormously when you are trying to understand why Europe concluded what it concluded and the United States still has not. As of May 2026, 1 in 8 American adults is on a GLP-1 drug. 31 million people. That figure comes from a KFF health tracking poll in November 2025. None of them were warned about their eyes. So what is actually happening inside the eye when NAION strikes? The optic nerve runs from the back of your eyeball into your brain. It carries every visual signal you have ever experienced. It is fed by a ring of tiny arteries called the short posterior ciliary arteries. When those vessels lose blood flow, the nerve head swells. And the swelling compresses the same vessels that are supposed to be feeding it. The ischemia worsens itself. Retinal ganglion cells die fast, silently, permanently. Researchers have proposed several mechanisms for why semaglutide might trigger this. Blood pressure reductions from the drug may reduce perfusion to optic discs that were already operating on a narrow margin. Rapid blood sugar correction, which semaglutide drives aggressively, is known to cause transient optic nerve swelling in diabetics. Dehydration from gastrointestinal side effects can drop blood volume at exactly the wrong moment. The exact mechanism is not settled. The European Medicines Agency decided the population-level evidence was sufficient to require a warning without needing a confirmed molecular explanation. And here is the cruelest part of this. The patients most likely to be prescribed Ozempic, diabetics, the obese, people with sleep apnea and hypertension, are the exact patients who carry the highest baseline risk for NAION. The drug found its way to the people most vulnerable to its rarest side effect. The American Academy of Ophthalmology and the North American Neuro-Ophthalmology Society have said clearly that patients should not stop semaglutide based on this risk alone. For high-risk diabetics and cardiac patients, the cardiovascular benefits are real and significant. One major clinical trial showed a 20% reduction in heart attacks and strokes. Stopping the drug cold is not automatically the safer choice. What they are saying quietly is something else entirely. If you take Ozempic and you notice any sudden change in vision in one eye, any loss at all, painless, possibly when you wake up, stop the drug that day and get to an ophthalmologist that day, not tomorrow. The second eye can follow the first, and the window for protecting it is narrow. Todd Engel kept taking his Ozempic after the right eye went because nobody told him not to. He lost the left eye 10 months later. He sat through his grandson's bar mitzvah. He listened to something he could not see. The federal courts have consolidated GLP-1 blindness cases into a multi-district litigation. As of May 2026, there are 3,636 cases on that docket. More are being filed. The question is not whether this connection is real anymore. 3 countries and 5 studies point the same direction. Europe has updated the label. Denmark has paid the patients. The WHO has issued the alert. The question is, how many people are going to wake up on an ordinary morning and discover the warning was never there? Because it should have been. If this story raised something you have never been told about a drug you are taking right now, the next video is already waiting.